Hello, everyone. Before we start, I would kindly ask everyone to turn their phones on silent. I'm Dilda Geci. I'm a fourth-year student at RIT Kosovo. It is my honor to welcome Nancy Bekavac, a distinguished board member. So once again, welcome everyone, and hope that this event will be insightful for every one of us.
Thank you so much. On behalf of the Board of Trustees, I'm delighted to see so many of you here and to welcome you here for a discussion about civil rights and civil liberties. As you know, that is in the forefront of many of the discussions in the United States, which I am afraid to say is not distinguishing itself, particularly in this field today. One of the things about civil rights and human rights is that it requires empathy. That is, to really understand it, you need to think of yourself in the position of the other. And that is the same requirement for any moral insight. Imagine yourself in the position of the person with whom you are disagreeing. To get the most from today's discussion, I urge you all to open your minds and open your hearts. These are difficult discussions. I understand them. I've been part of these discussions in other places, most recently in South Africa, and they are very difficult, but they are critical. So that the future does not look like the past, we must learn, and to learn, we must listen. So please join me in listening to our discussion today. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Mark Baskin, for those of you who don't know me. I teach here at RIT Kosovo. And let me just say that I'm just going to give a brief introduction, just to say that, to begin, the talking heads are at it again. And so on the 29th of April, the government in Berlin, the governments of Germany and France will host a meeting with senior officials from Slovenia, Croatia, Bosnia, Northern Macedonia, Albania. Presidents Vučić and Thaci will be there. Prime Ministers Haradinaj and Brnabić will be there. The EU Commission President Juncker, the High Rep for Foreign Security Policy, Mogherini. And the idea is it's supposed to kind of, once again, to revive the dialogue. And so then someone pushes the on button, and then everyone begins. And all the political parties and all the people are trotting out their kind of well-rehearsed positions to strengthen their political base, to send messages that they're the ones that can be trusted, and that always talking about the kind of high-profile themes that have been discussed for the last several months, including things like border correction, partition, land swaps, visa liberalization, and a whole series of things which I don't want to list. And so that's why it's a perfect moment today to host. Just to say, and today President Thaci was quoted in The Guardian that's saying that Kosovan Serbs have withdrawn from political life in Kosovo, including the police and judiciary in the north of Kosovo. And he said that nobody has an answer how to move forward, and the biggest victims are Kosovans, in particular Kosovan Serbs. So that's why it's a perfect moment to host here at RIT Kosovo the Helsinki Committee for Human Rights in Serbia, to visit our campus. And no organization has done more over the last 25 years to advance a rational, values-based approach to settling differences among the various peoples of the former Yugoslavia in a more rational way. And so I won't say much about what it is that they're going to talk about, simply that it's always wonderful to have them here. Will be talking about a publication that they've issued recently that explores these issues and the position of the Serbian community in such a way that can lead to peaceful resolution of differences between the governments of Kosovo and Serbia. And so that's all I want to say about what we're talking about today. And just to introduce Sonja Biserko, who is the president of the Helsinki Committee for Human Rights in Serbia. She worked for many years in the Yugoslav Ministry of Foreign Affairs. She left in the early 90s as an opponent to the Milosevic regime, and then was one of the founders of the Helsinki Committee. She is a former board member of AUK, and she has won many international awards, and was last on campus, if I'm not mistaken, I think in 2015, the last time that you came here to make a presentation. And then Luzim Petsi, everyone knows, is the director of the Kosovo Institute for Policy Research and Development, and he earlier served as Kosovo's ambassador to Sweden. And we have Luli on campus as frequently as he will come, and he was here not very long ago. And then we have Rada Trajkovic, who is a former member of the Kosovo Assembly, and she's been active politically in the region for a long time and is an authentic voice for Serbs in Kosovo. So that's who we'll have speaking here today. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you for having us here. Maybe I should speak in Serbian because of the equality of the language. Should I speak in Serbian? Oh no, most of the people don't understand. Okay. For everybody? No, okay. Well, anyway, thank you very much for having us here. It's not the first time, as you have heard. What I really want to point out is that this is a unique opportunity for young people in Kosovo, both Serbs and Albanians, to confront each other over a report which have been a result of our interviews with the Serb community over the last fall. And I think there are many aspects of this report which should be of interest to the Albanian side, especially young people, in order to come across to the Serbian community and especially to young people from the Serbian community. Before I proceed with putting forward a few comments on the report, I would like to underline that both Serbs and Albanians are, in a way, burdened with numerous stereotypes of each other, which are hindering the communication between two sides. Albanians are traumatized by the treatment of the Serbian state, while the Serbian side is, in a way, defending itself by promoting a narrative about its surroundings by enemies and all kinds of conspiracy theories. And there is a totally vacuum which is not filled up with any kind of communication. On the other side, Brussels dialogue is something that hasn't brought any changes in stereotyping of each side. When we talk about Serbian side, I must underline that despite the Brussels agreement, there was this anti-Albanian campaign going on all the time over the last few years. And we are still very far from creating or achieving a process of relaxation and compromise. And I would say that the state compromise is not really, the political compromise is not something that brings only by itself the relaxation between two societies. And I think only, how should I say, a compromise on the level of the society, a compromise on with moral and ethic approach, which are really something that two elites from two sides have to apply in order to, how should I say, proceed with open and substantial dialogue. This can happen only in the atmosphere of dialogue, which would bring to the process of normalization, and I would say which would soften the internal perceptions of each side. And I think by understanding historical misunderstandings is only possible by understanding what really happened in a more in objective way, and not to really keep up to narratives of both sides that have been established over the century. Only with the critical, I would say, approach and confrontation with the past of the others, whether this is about Albanians or Serbs, it is, and with the readiness to discuss our own responsibility and I would say responsibility and deeds that have been done in the name of whoever, which means that it doesn't mean that there is no responsibility of the other side. So I think each side has to face up with its own responsibility in order to be able to come across to the other side. Then also what we have is that each side has some kind of collective memory. This is a matrix which is present on both sides. And there is a need to transform the monologue in some kind of dialogue, which would reconstruct the collective memory, because as long as Albanians and Serbs are in this mold of their own perceptions, then there is not, it is not possible to reconstruct a collective identity. And I think Kosovo has a unique opportunity to construct a collective identity which would cover all minorities, all communities in Kosovo itself. Well, in the last 20 years, since the intervention and especially since 2008, the independence of Kosovo, I think we have two realities in Kosovo, the Serbian and Albanian. And the Serbian community has been, in a way, a hostage to both sides, especially Belgrade, because Belgrade is instrumentalizing Serbian community for its own, I would say, objectives and reasons. And they do that through Srpska Lista, which unfortunately doesn't really represent the interests of the Serbian community in Kosovo. And that has been reflected in our report. And we have talked to many Serbs from all over, north and south, and this is one of the main conclusions, that I don't feel that Srpska Lista and Belgrade are really working in their interest and their needs. And I think this is one very important, how to say, conclusion of the report. The second conclusion is that it's quite, the position of Serbs in Kosovo differs, that Serbs in north and south have different perceptions and different positions, I would say. And Serbs in the south are complaining that over the last few years, since 2012, North has been a priority both to Kosovo government, to international community and Belgrade. And most of the investments, most of the attention was based on focused on the north of Kosovo, of course with the hope that maybe Kosovo, north of Kosovo would become slowly an integrated part of Kosovo as a whole. Unfortunately, over the last few years, we have a situation which has been explained by Mark, and that is that partition deal has emerged as something which was discussed under the table, and this is something which hindered dialogue generally. But I think for the time being, this is removed from the agenda when we talk about EU and even, I would say, United States, but still it doesn't mean that the alternative of partition is not still under the table, because there are too many people involved, not only in Kosovo and Serbia, but also in the international community. But however, we will have this meeting at the end of April, and then we'll hear what is on the table at this moment. But however, in the meantime, I think that Kosovo government, Kosovo society, Albanian side should be more, how to say, focused on true integration of Serbian community without waiting for the state agreement. And this is what I referred to the society, how should I say, consensus and the society's approach to this very problem of the integration of the Serbian community. And there are many, many ways to do that. And I'm really more than happy to see how many young people are here. And I would really be delighted to hear your comments on this report, your suggestions, and from both sides, because that would help us to understand how to approach in this normalizing process on the level of the society. Because I think this is what civic society should be doing on both sides, Belgrade, Kosovo Serbs, and Kosovo Albanians. And I think we are one of the organizations that has been engaged in Kosovo since 90s, mostly on the dialogue. And as I have heard here, one complained that we are mostly focused on dialogue between Belgrade and Pristina, which is probably dominating aspect of it. But of recent, we have been very much involved in the dialogue between Serbs and Kosovars, Serbs community and Albanian community, and we think that that should be a direction that we should proceed with our activities in the future, together with Pristina-based organizations. There are many NGOs in the north which are now getting attention. One very active is NGO Active, which is very well known, I think, also in Pristina. And unfortunately, NGOs, Serbian NGOs in the south are not so much in the focus of international donors, and they depend on them. This is something that should be taken into account when considering the future dialogue of the civic societies on both sides, especially Serbian society in Kosovo and Serbian Albanian civic society in Kosovo, helped obviously with some work. Some NGOs from Belgrade, which are present here for a long time, and I think we do enjoy credibility on both sides, and that should be used as something that can be helpful in this process of normalizing dialogue between the two sides in Kosovo itself. So I would stop here and then would give the floor to other speakers, and then I'm really looking forward to your comments. Thank you.
Since Sonia spoke in English, I'm going to speak in English as well. I'm not going to break the set that we have started. I'm going to talk a bit about the report of the Helsinki Committee, which has been published a few months ago, I think a month and something ago. I think that this is the most comprehensive report that I have read for several years about the position of Serbs in Kosovo, and what makes it a very powerful report, it is that it is first of all that it is very in-depth one, and the second thing that it gives a very concrete recommendations on how to tackle with the current situation. But the cream, the cherry on the cake of this report, it is that it has a vision. And that's why I'm going to talk a bit, I'm going to add a bit on it right now. The very good news for Kosovo is that Albanians and Serbs, majority of them in Kosovo, are against partition. Serbs in the north, majority of them, Serbs in the south, and Albanians in all over Kosovo. So what tells this fact? This fact tells something which has not been articulated, I think, very well. And the meaning of this fact that all communities in Kosovo want Kosovo as it is in the current borders. The problem is that we don't have the vision how we shall live together in the future. While everybody is accepting to live within these borders, it tells that, okay, we are fine in living as we are right now. But the issue is with the vision, what we shall do. We can achieve 100 agreements, political agreements. But if we don't work as a society which shares certain values, we are not going to succeed. It's going to be an illusion. Today, Serbia can recognize Kosovo, but it's not going to solve problems. We have to make a step further, regardless what Serbia is doing right now, in my opinion. When people in one country can feel good and to a certain extent and happy, because happiness is a personal issue in the end of the day. They can feel good when they are treated as equals and when they feel being treated as equals. In our case, I think that none of us should be happy or feeling good if there is a feeling that somebody else, regardless of community, is not treated equally or it is not feeling equal. And I think that this is the core problem about our future and our society. There are many theories in international relations which do treat this kind of problems. For example, there is a theory of regional peace and conflict which is developed by Benjamin Miller, and he used to be a student of Kenneth Waltz. I would recommend this book to everybody, to all of you. And he talks about incongruences of states and nations and states, and how these incongruences are generators of regional war or regional Cold War, hot war, cold peace, and Cold War as well. But how certain countries in these turbulent regions, they move to hot peace, which is a status quo position, according to Miller, when they move towards the basic values of liberal democracy. If countries in any turbulent region, if they move towards this ideology, if they build their societies based on these values, they will succeed, and they will build a state identity which regardless national identities or whatever other identities, they will become sustainable and stable societies. And those states will become status quo states. I must say that we do have these problems right now only in the Balkans and in the neighborhood of Russia. The rest of Europe, of Eastern Europe even, is fine with it. I'm talking which is included into EU. So let's go back to Kosovo right now. I think that we Kosovars, Albanians, Serbs, Turks, Romas, Goranis, all communities, we have to work together towards building our future based exactly on the values of liberal democracy. There is no other way around. This is the strongest glue that can put us together and build a society which is gonna be a democratic one and which is gonna be a healthy one. And which will have a shared vision. And I think that this should be our shared vision. Regarding the past is difficult. Even we who have witnessed the past in the recent years, we have problems in interpretation of this past that we have witnessed. Imagine the past that we have not witnessed at all, or that we like to interpret according to our imagination, according to our feelings, projections, or whatever it is. I'm not questioning here the work of scientists and historians, but there is a need, I think, to write a history of Kosovo, and which should include also the history of communities of Kosovo who lived within this place. And this is not the story of competition, who was bigger or who was smaller. No, no, no. In my opinion, this should not be that story. It should be the story how we have lived, what we have passed. We have to admit our mistakes in the past, because in essence, the mistake which has been undertaken in Kosovo were those of the government in Belgrade, and not necessarily of the Serbian community in Kosovo. A number of them participated in it, but the policy was made in Belgrade. The policy about Kosovo by Serbian establishment was never made so far in Pristina. It was made in Belgrade. I think that there is a time right now to change this way of thinking about building our future. People who live in Kosovo, it is their duty to build their future. I think that neither Belgrade nor Tirana nor somebody else should decide what, or should have an influence what should our future be. When we achieve this momentum, I think that we will succeed. Thank you very much.
Ja se izvinjavam, ja ću da govorim na srpskom s obzirom da nemam perfektni baš ni albanski ni engleski. I želim da zahvalim svima koji su organizovali ovaj današnji susret. Pre svega želim da... Da. Okay.
If you'd like earphones.
Ovo se zove srpska destabilizacija. Okay. mogla bih početi sa nečim što je u stvari naša istorija, ali istorija uvek nekako nas dovodi u neke druge pozicije, pa onda samo da naglasim 10 godina posle vladavine Miloševića i 20 godina posle odlaska institucije države Srbije sa ovog prostora, mi smo se sastali da govorimo u stvari o problemima koji podrazumevaju zajednički život Srba i Albanaca pre svega. Počet ću sa pričom mog detinjstva. Moj deda živeo je u Merdare kod Podujeva i imao je tradicionalno prijateljstvo sa jednom ogromnom albanskom porodicom. Oni su se poštovali, družili i našli modalitete zajedničkog života ili suživota na principima običajnog prava. Dakle, nije bilo nikakvih evropskih zakona. Bilo je na snazi običajno pravo koje nas je držalo u tako dobrim odnosima da smo znali kada je ko srećen i kada je ko nesrećen, kada se nekome rodilo dete i kada je, nažalost, nekome umrlo i bili zajedno i tužni i veseli. I uvek u priči se vraćam u stvari na to vreme da mi smo uvek živeli zajedno. Kompromis je prirodna stvar. Ja sam lekar i činom rođenja, kad zaplače beba, ona pravi kompromis sa spoljašnjim svetom. Ona uzima prvi put vazduh i nastavlja da živi. Ako ne uzme vazduh, ona umire. Ako nema na jednom prostoru kompromisa, onda sve vrednosti ljudske umiru. I zato velika zahvalnost ovom univerzitetu i ljudima koji razumeju značaj kompromisa koji suštinski je predočen u nešto što je poštovanje ljudskih prava. Ranije sam pričala politiku pa sa političarima, a sada kako me je Vučić onako brutalno izbacivao iz institucija, ja sam počela da koristim sve više kolektivan prevoz, da putujem iz Gračanice do Beograda. I kada putujem, kombi je pun, tu su i Srbi, ali i Albanci. Putuju za Beograd i onda posmatram običan život običnog čoveka. Albanci galame, pričaju do merdarske granice. Kada dođu do Merdara, oni su još uvek živahni, dodaju svoja dokumenta albanskim policajcima, carina i sva ta administracija koja je na prelazu, a mi, Srbi, ćutimo jer se plašimo te kontrole. Kako pređemo na drugu stranu i čekaju nas policajci srpske države i institucije srpske države, onda mi Srbi počnemo da galamimo, da pričamo, da smo veseli, a Albanci se povlače. Mi nosimo dokumenta i kosovska. Moramo, ne zato što ih volimo, nego moramo da bi preživeli, da bi mogli da platimo porez, zemlju, ostvare neku sitnu penziju. To je život. Mladi Albanci odlaze prema Beogradu i sve češće ih čujem da odlaze u policijske stanice da traže pasoše. I odriču se i kosovskog državljanstva, odriču se svega, jer hoće život i hoće da pobegnu odavde. Oni celim putem do Beograda su tihi, ćute, uplašeni. čak onako ponizni, da mi je teško to da posmatram ni i jednu i drugu stranu. Jer znate, sloboda je nešto što je najpotrebnije čoveku. Sve može da se kupi. Ali sloboda je nešto bez čega ne možete da živite. Kada se vraćamo iz Beograda, ponovo je ista situacija. Ponovo su albanski putnici tihi do prelaza na Merdare. Od prelaza na Merdare oni su ponovo veseli, pričaju, puni samopouzdanja. Srbi ćute čim pređu merdarsku granicu. Šta hoću da vam kažem? Ono što je suština svega, da se mi bojimo institucija. Ne institucija kao institucija, nego ljudi koji rade unutar institucija. Jer ako me na ovom prostoru prepoznaju kao Srpkinju i ako treba da budem maltretirana kad dođem na nekom šalteru kao Srpkinja, onda to je za mene veliki problem. Ja znam da običajno pravo nestaje kulturološki iz albanskog naroda. Da individualizacija koja je evropski standard na kraju krajeva, jeste nešto što je realnost. Ali ovde je još uvijek izmešana individualizacija sa plemenskim. Pa ono, posmatrate da želite individualno da razmišljate, ali ipak da Srbi nekako da ih ne vide ili da navikavaju da ne vidite Srbina pored vas. To je loše, ali to je osnov politike od pre 30 godina. Mi smo ratovali jedni protiv drugih i mogu vam reći vrlo iskreno, plan Miloševića je bilo da Kosovo ne bude sa Albancima ili sa mnogo manje Albanaca. Plan OVK je bilo da Kosovo ne bude sa Srbima. I sada su došla dva čoveka koji su, ono što kažu ljudi te generacije, koji hoće da nam kažu da mi ne možemo i ne treba da živimo zajedno ili da ostvare taj plan. I ne bi me oni iznenadili, to je njihova logika i program, ali me iznenađuje međunarodna zajednica koja sve projekte koje je organizovala na Kosovu još pre 20 godina, ona je govorila da je to borba za multietničko Kosovo. I sada vidite u nekim krugovima da oni ipak misle pa možda može da dođe do tog razgraničenja, do odvajanja života jednih od drugih. Ali mi moramo svi zajedno da pokažemo da možemo zajedno da živimo. Projekat zajedništva podrazumeva inkluzivnost Srba unutar institucija na Kosovu. Danas nas ima u Skupštini Kosova neki procenat, ljudi koji rade kao administrativni radnici. I oni kada pogledate obično te živote, vi vidite da oni zajedno razgovaraju. Pa kada je Bajram, oni donesu neke kolače, pa kada je Vaskrs, Srbi donesu neka jaja, pa opet tu se odvija i vraća ono što je nekada bila karakteristika Prištine. Imali smo jedan klasičan geto. Sada imamo psihološki geto kod Srba. Ne zato što nam preti opasnost od Albanaca, sada je relaksiranija situacija, ali mi imamo još uvek mentalni geto u glavama i ne volimo da izađemo izvan svog, ono što kažu, prostora gde slobodnije živimo. Molila sam mladog taksistu, 22 godine, Srbina iz Gračanice, hoćete da me prebacite do Prištine? A on kaže, ja ne znam ulice u Prištini. Ja sam bila zapanjena. I u stvari u komunikaciji sa običnim ljudima tek onda shvatate gde i kako treba raditi na projektima. Znači, inkluzivnost, vraćanje i zapošljavanje Srba ne po enklavama da se vrtimo tu u nekim seoskim sredinama, nego po gradovima, pa ako hoćete polako i naseljavanje gradova je jedan od prioriteta za budućnost ovog prostora. Ja neću dugo da govorim, možda ćemo imati prilike da odgovaramo na pitanja, samo želim da vam kažem. Odmah posle rata vodili su nas predstavnici međunarodne zajednice na zajedničke skupove viđenijih Srba i Albanaca van Kosova. I prvo, kada smo došli, svi smo bili onako povučeni, svi sa svojima. Onda smo počeli da pričamo, drugi dan da se družimo, pa onda sve bliskije i bliskije. I to se već napravilo 5 dana, 6 je trajalo. To je već bilo prijateljstvo, druženje, komunikacija. To je tako, menjamo telefone, pričamo o deci, razgovaramo o obične stvari, vraćamo se našim starim zajedničkim temama. Kada smo se vraćali avionom, ponovo smo počeli da sedimo u avion odvojeno. Srbi sa Srbima, Albanci prema Albancima. Pitamo je prijatelji iz Amerike koji je organizovao to, u čemu je problem rado i gde je rešenje? Mi suštinski se ne mrzimo i razumemo. Ali ja sam kazala, rešenje je da uzmete celo Kosovo, ovo koliko ima stanovnika, da nas preselite na neko drugo mesto, u nekoj drugoj državi i mi bi se super slagali između sebe i to bi bila zaista najsnažnije prijateljstvo zajednice ljudi koji se međusobno razumeju i koji se na kraju krajeva, ja bih kazala, zašto ne, i vole između sebe, iako zbog vere nismo imali brakove ili u tragovima neke brakove. Dakle, ova teritorija, sada ću malo završiti kao vernik, s obzirom da jesam vernik, ovaj prostor pun je krvi i srpske i albanske. Ta krv koju prolivamo za ovu teritoriju, ne da nam da nastavimo zajedno. Moramo naći odgovore da više nikada ne ratujemo. I moramo naći odgovore da nekako se ne plašimo kada prelazimo merdarsku administrativnu liniju ili kako bi moj drug ljudi kazao granicu Kosova. A da se ne plašimo administracije koja nas dočekuje sa jedne ili sa druge strane. Do tog vremena ne mislim da je dobro rešavati konačni status Kosova. Onoga trenutka kada prelazimo i kada nas dočekuju relaksirano sa obe strane, toga trenutka bit će nam sasvim svejedno kako se zove nebo nad nama koje definiše država, jer mi ćemo imati normalan život. Hvala.
Now, some students might have a class at 12:30, and so we understand that, but those who don't, it might be kind of interesting to stick around and to ask some questions that I think our speakers have some time. So if there are any questions right now, I think that they would be happy to entertain them.
Dobar dan, Mirgita. Pitanje je za gospođu Trajković. Kako bismo mi mogli kao studenti Američkog univerziteta, ili da li možete možda da nas inspirišete, kako bi mogli da manifestujemo neki doprinos prema boljoj komunikaciji mladih iz Gračanice ili pak drugih enklava i Prištine? Sa vaše strane, šta bi vi voleli da mi uradimo?
Za početak,
That's on. Evo.
za početak već je mnogo urađeno u smislu stvaranja institucije gde ćete se zajedno obrazovati i gde ne vidite jedan u drugog Srbina i Albanca, vidite kolege. I mislim da je to jedina institucija u Prištini gde vidite između sebe kolege koji treba zajedno da rade. To je velika osnova za budućnost ovog prostora. Mi odavno zajedno ne radimo. Ja sam znala u moje vreme kao lekar i posle rata da kažem nekome iz Gračanice, idi slobodno kod tog i tog lekara, on je najbolji bio i ako je Albanac, nemoj da se plašiš. Ova generacija lekara, mladih Srba i mladih Albanaca, oni više ne znaju ko je dobar lekar Srbin i ko je dobar lekar Albanac. Mi smo se potpuno otuđili, pričamo velike priče, Tači i Vučić, oni toliko su nas udaljili dodatno i otrovali rad sopstvenih interesa nekog političkog trajanja ili neodgovornosti za ono što rade, u smislu odgovornosti za neke zločine ili u smislu odgovornosti za veliki kriminal. I vi imate sada jednu konstataciju koja kaže, ili citirali ste izjavu Tačijevu u Londonu, gde je on kazao policija i sudstvo na severu neće sada da bude. Znašte ko je to neozbiljno? Šta hoću da budemo institucije, pa neću, pa znate koje su to traume za ljude koji žive? Za egzistenciju, to je takva neodgovornost i neozbiljnost. Ja zaista ne znam šta će u Berlinu da rade sa njima dvojicom. Ja ne razumem ni one koji su ih pozvali. Pa to su toliko neodgovorni ljudi da je to strašno. Oni ne razumeju da su to životi. Da su to ta dehumanizacija običnog čoveka kroz nacionalizam toliko je prisutna i toliko ne vidimo od tih tabloida da je to strašno. Vi koji se ovde obrazujete, vi ste temelj nečega što podrazumeva inkluzivnost i Srba u institucije u Prištini. A dalje vi treba da se borite, normalno.
I'll speak English since the majority here understand it. I'm not a student, but I was very interested in the event. My name is Saranda Bugujevci. I'm a member of parliament in Kosovo. And also as a young person, I survived the war here. I was very badly injured during the war. And my journey for the last 20 years has been in terms of finding justice and also dealing with the past and dealing with what I had experienced. It did taught me a lot, and also as responsibilities that we have today as as MPs and institutions. One of the things I wanted to mention in terms of what I believe in, it's finding a way of integrating the Serbian community within life in Kosovo. And we know many factors of why that is not happening. For example, one of the things that we've been doing with the women's group within Parliament is reaching out to organizations and women's, mainly in the north of Mitrovica, in terms of domestic violence, for example. So finding ways in which we can communicate in terms of actually something that's concerning everyone. I have a huge problem in terms of when it comes to between the two communities, when there's always talk of ethnic tension, for example, in the north of Mitrovica, which I don't see being the case. When you talk to people, it's about organized, criminalized groups that are terrorizing people and not really giving them the opportunity to be able to choose how they live their lives within Kosovo. And then on the other hand, you also have institutions within Kosovo that haven't really done much in terms of supporting the Serbian community living in Kosovo in terms of employment and in terms of how education works and many other aspects. I would really like today to see how these discussions go in that level and in terms of what people need. Being able to move forward and being able to deal with the situation that we have in daily basis, it's also very much interlinked with dealing with the past and what's happened here, and we can't ignore that. For many years, I've spoken a lot about my personal story, not just in Kosovo, but around the world, even in Serbia. And I always point out that the reason why I tell my story is not to spark more hatred, but it's actually for people to understand, and also the younger generations to understand the impact that it has on people's lives when it comes to conflicts. Something else that I did is, with my family is we had an exhibition which opened in Pristina and then later on in 2013 in Belgrade. And what was really interesting for me to see in that part of the exhibition was we have the living room. The only thing that survived in my family that we had from pictures and videotapes was a videotape of 1990 when I was 5 years old and the family celebrating New Year. And the idea was for people to understand what our lives were before the war. And what was interesting to see for us was that everyone that walked in the living room, whether it was in Kosovo, whether it was in Tirana, whether it was in Belgrade, or people coming from other parts of the world and seeing the exhibition, everyone realized that we were living in very similar ways around those times, you know, in the 90s, and everyone could relate to things within the living room. So everyone then started to realize that actually, you know, in many ways we were not so different from each other, and the way we were living and how our daily lives was. I think it's really important that in events like this, and especially when we have young people involved, it would be really good, it was mentioned, organizations in the north of Mitrovica, and really having people who are doing work with these community on daily basis and really getting young people to spend a bit more time with each other. I know there's a lot of projects that's been going on between young people from Kosovo and Serbia, but I don't think there's much going on in terms of young people within Kosovo between the different communities, not just Albanian and Serbians, but also other communities that live here. I'll leave it with that. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Anula Zaime. I'm a language teacher. I've been teaching for more than 24 years now. And the reason I wanted to address the young people here, it's not that I have a question, but it's more like an experience sharing with all of you. I've been conducting classes in 3 languages for more than 15 years, in the last 10 years especially. So it means that I have been conducting classes in English, Albanian, and Serbian. So I've been a part of the project because a lot of you have mentioned here a vision, inclusiveness, employment, and young people. Actually, I've been a part of all these elements, and the only thing I wanted to share with people here is that I actually noticed a lot of optimism because I've been working with young people in these classes. These classes were conducted through different projects, and main classes were actually conducted in Gračanica, Čaglavica, Obilić, Fuškosova, Kosovo Polje, and now recently in Plemetin, where I have a group of a mixture, like ethnic mixture. I have a group of Serbs and Roma people who actually learn Albanian. So one of the elements, because nobody mentioned language as the basic mean of future optimism, actually it's the communication between people. If we cannot communicate, then everything else is kind of mentioned as, yes, big, huge projects, but still with no results. In these classes, I've seen people being very optimistic about the future here. I've had classes with 40, 50 young people in Gračanica, all of these people who studied here, and they see themselves as the future kind of progressive potential workforce of this country. The reason why they actually they participated in these classes was that they see their future here, and they see their future as through the language of another community, which would be like the main mean of their kind of cooperation and mutual understanding. So I just thought of sharing this with you because I've been a part of some of these very optimistic and progressive projects, and these people are optimistic and they really see a bright future here. Thank you.
Hello.
Okay.
Ja se izvinjavam.
No, please go ahead. Jedno predivno pitanje koje smo onako zapostavili, a to je pitanje jezika. Zaista vrlo važno radi naše komunikacije međusobno, radi buduće komunikacije međusobno. Vrlo je dobro što u nekim srpskim sredinama, u našoj crkvi isto uče albanski jezik. Radi komunikacije sa onima koji i dolaze i koje sreću na ulici. Ali morate da razumete prostor Kosova i Metohije od 10.000 kvadratnih kilometara. To je mali prostor. To je vrlo važno da uzajamno komuniciramo. Ali da bi se komuniciralo i živelo evropski, mora se komunicirati i sa regionom. Vrlo je važno da i u albanskim sredinama se govori nekim od slovenskih jezika. Ja sam se jako borila da i preko nekih međunarodnih predstavnika da Univerzitet u Prištini otvori katedru nekog slovenskog jezika. Ako baš ne vole srpski, neka bude hrvatski, slovenski, ne znam, bosanski, ali da postoji komunikacija. Nije ovo prostor koji može da zadovolji mladog Albanca, toliko veliki. On je suviše mali da bi mogao funkcionalno u budućnosti da zadovolji potrebe. Zato bi bilo jako dobro da i u albanskim sredinama postoje profesori koji bi održavali časove mladima nekog od slovenskih jezika, bez želje da govorim srpski jezik.
Hello, I am Alisa Yashare. I'm a 4th-year student here, And I have a question that will begin with a little story. When I was in high school, I was an exchange student in the United States. It was a program that took students from all the Balkans. And I was really young. I had never had a Serbian friend before. But when we went to the United States, it turned out that I had a lot more in common with my Serbian friends. And when we would share stories about our countries, about our food, we had the same cuisine, the same jokes. We would relate on so many levels. And there I was thinking that I'm supposed to hate these people when, in fact, we became really good friends. But I'm sure that they, as me, feel like we are powerless in the whole negotiation process, in the whole dialogue, even though we are the youth. And my question is, how do we affect this dialogue? Because I think that we do feel powerless, like it's out of our hands, and it's in the hands of the big politicians and the powerful countries. Thank you.
Thank you. First of all, I would like to point out that this process of facing the past in general is a very difficult, painful process, not only for Serbs and Albanians, but generally. I'm now more than almost 3 decades involved in this process of trying to establish something myself personally and my organization. And I really learned over the time how difficult it is. And somehow I now tend to understand all these obstructions and difficulties that are ahead of us. But I must say that there are many things that have been already done on the level of the civic society, despite these state, policies which were aimed at separating two communities when we talk about Kosovo and hijacking the voice of the Serbian community in Kosovo. So we have 2 levels. One level is the state, which is especially coming from Belgrade, but it doesn't mean that Kosovo government couldn't be more involved with the Serbian community, which is really following its own national agenda, which is more or less using Kosovo as an instrument for their aspirations in Bosnia. So this is something which is very important to have in mind when we talk about Kosovo. Therefore, I think that Kosovo cannot be finalized without finalizing Bosnian issue. And, Belgrade is always calculating on Kosovo independence being something which Republika Srpska is entitled to have the same right to self-determination. So we can hear on daily basis statements from Dodik and others in Belgrade and Republika Srpska which are relating to that. But despite all this political dynamism, we have civic societies on both sides which have achieved, I would say, in given conditions, rather very relevant results. Not to say that most of the victims, those who perished in these wars, are already identified, and there is very little space in manipulating with the figures of those who have perished not only in Kosovo, but Bosnia, Croatia. So this is a very important task that has been accomplished. For example, in Bosnia, you have a specific project which deals with the number of dead, and now they are transmitting it to some kind of digital atlas, where you can find every name, the place, video clip, or whatever document which is related to the very incident which brought to the death of certain persons. So, and even with the numbers which are already there, everybody can check and contribute with additional names or facts which are relevant for the situation. So this is something that we all have to respect and have in mind. There has been many effort invested in dialogues of all kinds. Journalists, historians, young people, cultural activists, and so on. And we have been part of this process as well. So we are now at the point that I think rather rightly pointed out that there is some kind of momentum which is now building up, which we should all use, and especially you young people, because it's different when you are part of a process of the wars or whatever ongoing, and a young person who has not being a part of it. You have a different emotion. Not that you don't, that you sort of forget or you forgive or whatever, but it is a different emotion. I think it's really a transgenerational process. Therefore, you are the first generation which is coming up and which should be able to approach young people on the other side in Serbian community with more open heart and more open mind. And I think this is something that we are all aware of. And we should use this opportunity to somehow send the message across this ethnic line or ethnic divide. And I think this is exactly what you have said, meeting young people in America or wherever, that you find a lot of things in common. And I think there should be many more projects on the level between Serbian and Albanian community here in Kosovo. And this could help, really open up this avenue which is ahead of us. And also, I think Serbs from Belgrade and Serbia should be maybe part of that in a way that they should also understand what is Albanian community in Kosovo. This is what we are trying with this cultural icebreakers project, which is going on already for 4 years. And ideally, the results of these projects are really tremendous because these young people become part of a network. They continue their communication without Helsinki. They are sort of building up their own future and communications on the projects which are really a nucleus of future Albanian and Serbian elites who are able to understand. And this is why, as many of you have already mentioned, language is so important. And in our report, this is one of the recommendations, and also to have common schools, which would bring up young people who would represent future elites of Kosovo, who would be able to think Kosovo future, despite whether they are Serbs or Albanians or any other minority which is part of it. And I think this is extremely important that you are able, as young generations, to think future without this burden of the past. You should understand the past. You should understand why things have happened as they did, and I think this is a very important part of it, but also in some kind of objective way in order to be able to think the future. After all, the main priority of the Commission and the European Union, we are all verbally sort of dedicated to this, I would say, objective. The main priority is regional cooperation. Regional cooperation is not possible without understanding our past, without understanding what was first Yugoslavia, what was second Yugoslavia, why it fell apart. And this is extremely important because Yugoslavia, second Yugoslavia, was a kind of European Union where we experienced for the first time our European, I would say, future to come, because it was based on consensus. It didn't work. Why it didn't work? We have to learn about it in order to be able and ready for the EU membership. Because EU now is a simpler situation as Yugoslavia was, but they have more democratic potential and more, I would say, responsible elites who are addressing these problems. And unfortunately, many in Serbia think that EU will fall apart. It's far from that. But it's in some kind of trajectory, which is, addressing all these problems. And I think we Balkans should be part of this trajectory in terms of how to learn what are the problems of the EU, what are the challenges, in order to understand what EU is. When we were not able to understand what Yugoslavia was, then it's very important to understand at this moment what EU is and what they're undergoing at this moment. So I think this is, for all of you, a way to sort of be more open to that dialogue, not only Serbs and Albanians, but with all others in the region, because we need that. Albania, Macedonia, Montenegro, Serbia, Bosnia, and Croatia and Slovenia, because they're still part of the Balkans, despite their being members of both of EU and the NATO. So I think we are all now confronting challenges extremely important for all of us, but I think we should have more courage to address them. Yeah, thank you.
Let me just quickly add to Sonia's answer, which she didn't mention, she should have, I think, is that on the Helsinki Committee website, there is an absolutely fantastic resource that is about the history of Yugoslavia. And that those of you who have suffered in my course on Balkan Studies have been compelled to read some of these things. But what Sonia and her team have done is they brought together some of the best scholars from the former Yugoslavia in all of the different republics and have written about aspects that I have really never myself, as someone who's been following these things for many, many years, have seen. I mean, I've learned new things by reading some of the things by people who participated in events and by academics who've kind of exposed them, and they're available in many languages. So I really recommend that you just look at U History Helsinki Committee and you'll find it. And it's really superb.
Dobar dan i u moje ime. Ja sam Živojin Ćirković iz Gračanice. I drago mi je da sam danas ovde među vama. Hvala organizatoru na ovoj, mogu da kažem, odličnoj prezentaciji pravoga stanja sa kojim se 100% slažem da je tačno. I čitajući ovaj izveštaj, uvideo sam par stvari koje ću pismeno dostaviti, a mislim da treba i da se kaže. Vi ste svi mlađi puno od mene, da pozdravim i ljude koji su vaši profesori i koji nisu studenti ovde. I ja sam išao ovde u školu u ovoj drugoj zgradi. Kosovo je moja zemlja. Ja sam Kosovac i ovde živim. I imam ista prava kao i vi koji ste sada rođeni, kao i ja koji sam rođen malo ranije. To je suština stvari. U jednom trenutku je neko drugi vladao ovim prostorom, nije vodio dobru politiku i ono je dovelo do stradanja ljudi. Nisu stradali ljudi samo jedne zajednice. Stradali su ljudi više zajednica. Svih zajednica koji žive na Kosovu. Mogu da vam kažem da sam od septembra meseca predsedavajući Savetodavnog veća pri uredu predsednika Hašima Tačija u mandatu od 2 godine naredne, u kome se nalaze pripadnici svih nevećinskih zajednica na Kosovu. I jedan sam od pravih boraca i ambasadora da svi mi živimo zajedno na ovim prostorima. Na jedan drugačiji način, na način kako smo živeli da možemo da se razumemo bez na to da utiču bilo koji projekti. Ranije smo živeli zajedno u Prištini, u Peći, u Prizrenu, u Orahovcu, Goraždevcu, da ne nabrajam sve gradove. Desilo se šta se desilo. Ima mnogo gradova i mesta gde Srba nema više. Zašto? Ja na to ne mogu da dam odgovor. Možda će istoričari pisati to na ovakav ili onakav način. Ali sam bio učesnik procesa suočavanja sa prošlošću. Učestvovao sam i konkurisao samo sa jednom rečenicom. Ja sam Živojin Ćirković iz Gračanice, Srbin, i želim u Prištini da to kažem i da mi se ništa ne desi. I ja sam prošao na konkurs i bio učesnik te radionice. Teško mi je bilo da slušam stradanje i tragedije koje su se desile. Teško je bilo i drugima da slušaju stradanje i tragedije koje su se desile. Ali, svi smo došli do zaključka, mi prošlost ne smemo zaboraviti, moramo je pamtiti i moramo se suočiti sa time. Mi, pre svega vi mladi, morate razmišljati o budućnosti i kako ćete živjeti svi zajedno na ovim prostorima. Jer bogatstvo jednog društva i multietničnost tog istog društva treba da bude kapacitet za što veću i bolju snagu Kosova. A to će doći na ocenu jednog dana, verujte. Nemojte da mislite da će uvek biti kao što je bilo do skoro. Promenit će se politika i prema situaciji kada moraju da počnu da važe pravila, zakoni i da se poštuje Ustav Kosova. Ja vas molim, čuo sam o jednom incidentu koji se desio kod vas, da se nikad više ne desi. dobijem informacije da znate. Bio je Srbin prema kome je bilo učinjeno loše delo. Prema meni se to desilo u Gračanici, u policijskoj stanici, čoveku koji predstavlja sve zajednice na Kosovu. I baš u mom rodnom mestu incident na nacionalnoj osnovi od pripadnika službe koje rade posao. To je bilo u ponedjeljak. Žalba je otišla do predsjednika Tačija. Da li su svi političari krivi za sve što nam se dešava? Nisu. Gospodin premijer je rekao da bio je rat, bila su dešavanja, da bio je rat, nemojmo da živimo u ratu u budućnosti. Probajmo da živimo jedni pored drugih i da vi kao većinska zajednica preuzmete odgovornost za sve ostale zajednice. Ako ih vi prihvatite, oni će se lako integrisati. Ako ih vi ne želite, imamo problem i dalje. Sigurno. Međutim, ima još jedna stvar koju gospođi Sonji bih hteo da kažem, a to je da sever nisu Srbi sa Kosova. Izvinite, molim vas. Sever je samo jedan deo mali teritorije Kosova, na kome živi najveća srpska populacija u tom regionu. Međutim, većinski srpski narod živi južno od Ibra. To nemojte da zaboravite. Ja se ne slažem sa politikom da oni uzimaju moje pravo, da odlučuju u moje ime šta je sa Srbima koji žive južno od Ibra. Imam i ja pravo da živim u Gračanici. Imam i ja pravo da ostanem tu gde jesam, Kosovo je moja zemlja. I to pravo ne možete da mi uzmete ni vi, niti Srbi i Srbije. Kažu, pravimo radionice sa Srbima i Srbije. Pa dajte ljudi, ti ljudi u Srbiji traje radionica dok se uzme novac. Ali ovde na Kosovu treba da žive Srbi, Albanci i ostalih 9 zajednica zajedno i kad nema radionica. U tome je poenta. Ljudi iz većinske zajednice, molim vas, gde god da se nađete, nemojte da doživljavate manjinsku zajednicu kao protivnika, već je zaštitite i potrudite se da ostvari svoja prava, time ćete biti prepoznati kao visoko ocenjeno društvo koje ima svoje mesto i u Evropi. Hvala vam na pažnji.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Adona Maljoku. I'm a faculty member here at RIT Kosovo, and I'm a social psychologist. Primarily as a researcher, my work is focused on identity issues and intergroup relations. And basically a lot of what I do or have done over the past couple of years has focused on the idea of how the new Kosovo identity is developing and how it hinders or helps intergroup relations between Albanians and Serbs. And just to briefly outline 2 conclusions, because they relate to the previous speaker before I pose the question later on. So 2 things that we find is that Albanians, well, up until now, the process as it is being shaped is basically one that shows that Albanians are not very inclusive in the way that they are shaping as the majority the Kosovo identity. I think in line with a couple of notes that have been said previously by previous speakers as well, meaning that it's pretty much becoming another form of Albanian identity, so not inclusive of the Serbs and therefore not very positive in the tendency in terms of how it was at least envisioned at the beginning as an inclusive new identity that should include all of the communities living here. On the other hand, for Serbs, as we might expect, they don't identify a lot with the Kosovo identity, but when they do, it has positive consequences, meaning that it improves attitudes towards Albanians. So, to make it short, what seems to be the case is that there needs to be different strategies shaped for each of these groups. And a lot of the discussion that has been focused around, not just today, but in general in terms of the political discourses, sort of talks about these groups as, you know, the way that they deal with the identity negotiation in the same of, in the idea of, well, working as alongside, yes, but at the same time treating them as two in the completely same way, which I think at least empirically shows us that that's not the case. So different strategies basically need to be thought in terms of dealing with identity issues when it comes to a majority group versus a minority group. And I think that's not really the case in what is going on in a lot of the identity work in Kosovo. So my question at the political, or to you, especially to Ms. Biserko and Ms. Trajkovic as well, is what can be done at the political level to sort of tailor the discourse and the strategies and even the policies basically to fit the needs of these two groups as they are, so driven by different motivations and driven by different outcomes, rather than seeing it as a one-size-fits-all kind of solution in this reconciliation process. Thank you.
Well, I think identity politics is not only a local problem or regional problem, it's a worldwide problem. Unfortunately, it has become an issue which is very much debated in intellectual and cultural circles, and I think there is not yet a formula which would satisfy the needs of this great problem, because identity politics have radicalized and have become exclusive, and this also adds to some kind of ethnic divide in all these societies. It's not only in post-socialist countries or politics, so there needs to be an umbrella which would cover all these needs of identities of all communities, but also offer a system of values which would sort of galvanize all these different identities into something that would be how should I say, state identity or whatever. So this is really a big issue nowadays, world issue, and I think it needs a lot of local debate between Serbs and Albanians here in Kosovo, but also region-wide, because we have also regional identity. Regional identity is much wider, of course, and I am very much against this exclusively ethnic identity, which is really destructive in its, how should I say, definition as it is now. And it really needs a debate among intellectuals and cultural circles, Kosovo, Serbia, and region-wide, in order to come to some kind of model which would be fit for the specific situation. You cannot have, I would say, general, how to say, model for each situation or each society. We have to build it on our own. And I think, but we have to follow what is going worldwide in these debates in order to understand better the issue, and it's not, as I said, only local. So we have to get involved into discussions and bring up really, for example, Serbian and Albanian community. There are many positive things, as Rada has mentioned, but also there are figures like Dimitrije Tucovic, Zogovic. We visited the Zogovic tomb in the vicinity of Dečani Monastery, which is there. It's not ruined. It's there. Montenegrin community is sort of looking after it. He has a street here in Pristina, and I understand that they will build up a tomb or statue here in Pristina. And Dimitrije Turcovic is well known about his analysis of Albanian question in beginning of the century. So there are many other positive things. And also I would say second Yugoslavia had, after the 60s, 70s, has given Kosovo autonomy, which was very relevant for, how should I say, creating new Albanian elite here in Kosovo, you know, by establishing university and other institutions. It's a very important aspect of, how should I say, self-definition of Kosovo Albanian community. So all these things are part of this identity politics should be, I think. There are many others, I'm just mentioning a few of them. Therefore, there needs to be more open-minded, open-hearted, we have mentioned earlier, in order to address all these, I would say, issues, not only the good ones, also we should include also the bad side of it, but in some kind of in a rational way, to understand why it happened. Not only to project from these bad parts of the history, to project them in the future. I think history should be used to understand things and not to project future based on this kind of, how should I say, stereotype thinking about our past. So we have a big task ahead of us, I would say. You want to say something? Pa ja bih odgovorila na drugačiji način, s obzirom da sam hirurg. Hirurzi imaju onako malo drugačija razmišljanja. Amerika je mnogo dala u nečemu što je promovisanje kosovskog identiteta, kroz zastavu, kroz himnu. Koliko se to primilo i kod Srba i kod Albanaca, vidimo da ne. Oni polaze od svoje filozofije života u Americi. Dolar je to što veže da bilo ko dođe u Ameriku jedva čeka da dobije državljanstvo i da bude Amerikanac. A mi nemamo tu finansijsku snagu da ljude sa time privučemo. I imate drugu jednu realnost. Imate Albance u Makedoniji, imate Albance na jugu centralne Srbije koji kažu, ili kada razgovaram privatno, pa ja nisam Kosovar, ja sam Albanac, blizak sa, to je naš identitet. I kada govore o projektu nekog zajedničkog života, oni bi više razumeli kroz projekat Velike Albanije nego kroz projekat Kosova i kosovskog identiteta. I imate Srbe koji svi primaju plate gotovo ili poslodavac im je u Beograd. I oni neguju vrlo snažno svoj srpski identitet. I u svemu tome potrebno je jako mnogo da se govori. Ja sam razumela poruke koje su jako dobre i ljude o kojima je govorila pre mene Sonja. Ja nisam baš komunista, pa bih kazala, i kralj je imao svoje velike prijatelje, Albance, koji su tada bile te plemenske zajednice u nekoj bivšoj Jugoslaviji. Dobrih ljudskih primjera je uvek bilo i uvek će ih biti i treba se sećati. Ali dajmo da ne učimo jednu istoriju koju nam napišu da učimo u škole, a drugu istoriju da nam pričaju u kući. Na prostoru bivše Jugoslavije nismo mi ratovali zbog udžbenika koje smo učili, koji su nam pisale komunističke vlasti, nego zbog istorije koje smo učili kući, gde su nam kazali lažu, ovo su napisali, ovo nije tačno, ovi su nas ubijali, oni. I to se napravi pometnja. Zato je vrlo dobro napraviti komisiju koja bi zaista iskreno razgovarala o zločinima. Iskreno govorila o zločinima koji su se ovde desili. Neka se svađaju. Najekstremnije bi ih dovela iz Srbe i Albance, da vidimo šta to imaju da kažu, ali šta imaju i da dokažu. Znate, i jedni i drugi. Mnogo je, verujte, ja sad kad uzmem tabloid iz Beograda, mislim kad pođem iz Beograda stavim jednu pušku na rame da dođem u Prištinu. Mislim, takve stvari se pišu, te ovaj naoružan, te ušla Albanija, te albanski vojnici. To su strašne stvari. Možda je ovo trenutak i ne znam da li će imati više šanse, ali volila bih za enklave, za zajednički život, za projekat protiv podele Kosova. Recimo, međunarodna zajednica organizuje, dovede jednu vrlo značajnu muzičku ličnost, onako globalno značajnu, da napravi koncert u Gračanici, da svi zajedno, vi mladi, najmlađi, učestvujete i da to bude neka poruka iz Gračanice za zajednički život i pomirenje. Od institucija koje imamo, ipak, makoliko imali negativnosti, najbolje su nam policija
zato što su učili zajedno, imali neku školu zajedno, družili se u toj školi, svađali, učili veštine jedni sa drugima. Onda gde nismo zajedno, uvek je moguće praviti probleme. Tako da zajednički identitet je pitanje procesa, a ne, nažalost, nešto što je rešenje, jer ga niko ne prihvata. To vidite i sami, kada su proslave više vole da se postave albanske zastave nego kosovske. A ljudi će mi samo čuti, ništa.
We have time for two more comments and questions right here, and then we'll end the formal session.
Dobar dan svima. Ja sam Aleksandar Stanković, dolazim iz Ranilova. Dve stvari su o kojima želim da govorim. Dve stvari su o kojima želim da govorim. Prva je jezik, odnosno postoji preporuka osnivanja zajedničkog univerziteta na kome bi se izučavao srpski, odnosno albanski jezik. Mislim da je to dobra ideja i da bi se svim sredstvima trebalo boriti da ta ideja u praksi zaživi. Druga stvar je mediji, odnosno imam utisak da mediji žele da stvore sliku da smo mi jedni drugima neprijatelji. Ja mislim da to nije u praksi i da ako već želimo neprijatelje, mi imamo svi zajedničkog neprijatelja, a to je siromaštvo. Na hiljade ljudi svakodnevno odlazi van Kosova i ako se ovim trendom nastavi, mislim da ova podela i ova borba ko je u pravu, ko nije u pravu, gubi svaki smisao. Hvala vam. Tome sam.
I would like to say a few things about identity. Identities are not solid, they are very fluid. I'm going to take the example of my family from my mother's side. All her family emigrated to Turkey in 1952, from 1952 to 1956, because of different reasons, but mainly because of repression that Albanians had at that time from Rankovic. And it was at his, when this happened, it was at the height of the repression. But a part of my mother's family didn't leave because of that, because they have not been oppressed. So it was half-half situation. They went because of different reasons, because some members of their family left to Turkey. And it's very interesting situation nowadays, especially when I went there for the last time to visit them. I think it was in 1992. Situation is very interesting because half of my mother's family feel Turks. If you say to them that they are Albanians, they feel offended. But if you say to another half that they are Turks, they feel so much Albanian that they are ready to beat you if you say to them that they are Turks. What I'm trying to say. And then let's move a bit to, that's why identities are very fluid. They can change over time, and we shall not be skeptic. It depends what we find in identities. So let's go to our diaspora right now. When I was serving as ambassador of Kosovo to Sweden and in Nordic countries, I was somehow surprised to see that quite large number of children of our diaspora don't speak Albanian. They speak either Swedish or English. And okay, maybe they feel Albanians, but they are different Albanians than we Albanians who are living here in Kosovo. Okay? I'm going to mention something which, because identity in the end of the day, it's how you feel. I would really appreciate very much if the West can fund a big, huge project it needs a bit of money, but not so much. Maybe with 1 million or 2 millions, just to make a DNA tests to the people in the Balkans. And they will see how all what we have projected about our past, how different it is. And we have to understand that in the end of the day, our identities are only what we are feeling about ourselves. If we are looking at each other here, who can say that we are the same race here in this room? No, yes and no, many of us, they look similar, but the other part, they look different. Maybe both of us will look more similar than the rest. So we have, and I think that this is necessary for the Balkans, because here, identity or national or ethnic identity in the Balkans is treated as pureness of the blood, which is a very fascistic and Nazi idea.
Blood and soil.
Yeah. And here lies the problem. Because we think that, or the others think that they are served by the blood, that they are Albanians by the blood. It's not true. We are Serbs or Albanians because we feel like that. Who knows what is in our genes? We don't know. I would like really to make a DNA in this room to all of us, and we can see. Yeah. Then, let's go a bit further. When I was in Stockholm again, 10% or more than 10% of consular services we got requests for consular services more than 10% by Kosovar Serbian community who was living in Sweden. Yes, it sounds surreal, but it's true. And I have instructed my staff to be extremely correct and supportive for the requests that we were getting from members of Serbian community who was living in Kosovar Serbian community who was living in Sweden. And I must say that I'm proud because I got a lot of thank you notes from our citizens who were living in Sweden and who were needing consular services at our embassy. What I'm trying to say, the trust only can be built by deeds. Not words are the first phase, but trust can be built by deeds. If we succeed in the future to work together and producing good deeds for both of us, both or all communities in Kosovo, then I think that there is a chance for this community. Finally, another thing about identity and in the Balkans.
Dear Balkans.
Yes. People in the Balkans generally tend to confuse of something which is the same with something being the single one. Okay, in cultural and language terms, Serbs in the Balkans are all the same, and Albanians in the Balkans are all the same. This doesn't mean that we are one, that we are single one. We have our differences. Because this equality of being the same and being the one, it is the key problem in creating a modern identities in the region. We have to understand that this is not the same. Albanians in Kosovo are the same in cultural and language, with Albanians in Albania. But we are not one. We are more than one. We are 2, 3, 4, or 5, because in the end, a part of having this cultural and language identities, there are a lot of other identities.
Individual.
Yes, individual identities and other identities and political identities, which makes us different and not the single ones. Thank you very much.
One final question, comment?
First of all, I would like to congratulate and to thank you for this event. I would like to compliment all panelists and to support especially everything what is positive, inclusive, in function of reconciliation, etc. But I would like to say something even more in my Albanian. Želio bih da pozdravim sve prisutne iz srpske nacionalnosti, ostali nacionalnosti i drago mi je stvarno da smo zajedno i da razgovaramo zajedno. Treba nam to. Por do të flas shqip, prandaj ju lutem edhe të rregulloni edhe. Unë jam Hidayet Hyseni, kam qenë ish gazetar, ish deputet dhe kam ardhur këtu jo për të folur. Kam ardhur thjesht për dëgjuar ligjeratat, sepse kështu më ishte thënë. Dhe s'dua t'ju marr kohën juve, po me lejen e juaj megjithatë do të them disa vërejtje. Spari në ftesën që kam marrur ka qenë potencuar ligjerata për konfliktin e ngrirë dhe pozitën një farë të ngrirë të komunitetit serb në Kosovë, apo jo? Në shtë është kështu e sakt, e konsideroj shumë të drejtë, qëlluar, është taman in media res, si thuhet. Prandaj edhe përshëndes prezantimin e mikës e vërtet veprimtares famshme drejtave të njeriut, zonjën Biserko. Po, çështjet megjithatë duan para ashtu siç janë. Konflikti i ngrirë ka arsyet e veta, ka dhe motivet e veta. Dhe është ndoshta në ato që konsiderohen shkaqet e shumë problemeve që ushtruan këtu me të drejtë. Kishte një deklarat nga kreu më i lartë i Serbisë zyrtare këto ditë, sipas cilit ata që kërkojnë ndërprerjen e konfliktit të ngrirë, si që thoshte, duhet kënë parasysh se atë ditë që do të ndërprehet, do të eliminohet konflikti ngrirë, mbaron kauza serbe në Kosovë. Besoj e keni vënë re dhe ju ka bërë për shtypje. Dhe s'duhet befasoj askënd. Konflikti ngrirë është një strategji afatgjate që i ka kushtuar gjithve në këtë hapësirë. Prandaj një nga pyetjet është kjo. Dhe dyta, konflikti ngrirë është edhe vendosja e formulave që nuk janë zgjidhje. Ju studioni dhe shihni, por në fakt, koha ka dëshmuar që gjendjet ose formulat ambiguente, dy kuptimshe, as nuk qojnë në zgjidhje, po qojnë në konflikt, vetëm e shtynë konfliktin, ato që ka thënë filozofi kinez, paqja e tillë është vetëm armpushim deri te konflikti i ri. Nuk guxojmë të lëmë konflikte të reja brezave që vinë. Prandaj duhet të zgjidhim problemet. Dhe një farë përpjekje që vrehet për të vendosur në Kosovë përsëri një farë forme të sovranitetit ambiguent, të dyfisht e tjera, është konflikti i ngrirë vetëm i modifikuar. Dhe secili duhet ta di që nuk funksionon, vetëm prodhon probleme. Për më tepër, tendenca për të kthyer prapa, që ndëgjojmë vazhdimisht dhe më lejoni të jemi drejt për drejt, hetohej vazhdimisht thu, do parë ku shpije. E kaluara duhet merret parasysh, duhet njihet, duhet respektohet ajo që është pozitive. Por e kaluara jon është e dhimbshme, është tragjike. Prandaj zguxojmë të lejojmë edhe kthim në formulat e të kaluarës. U përmend që në ish Jugosllavi ka pas komunikim, ka pas shumë, është e vërtet. Po zonjat nderuar dhe zotrit nderuar, njusha e zotrit të ri të nderuar, unë kam bërë 10 vjetë burg. Edhe në burgun e Nishit ka pas komunikim, ka pas një farë paqe, një farë qetësie, sepse impunohej, por ishte një farë bashkjetese në burg, e imponuar. Dhe Jugoslavia pa përgjithsuar gjithçka. Në fakt ka qenë burg i tillë i popujve. Dhe aty është burimi shkaku i gjitha problemeve që është shkaktuar. Në defektin që ka pas që në origjinë, e thoshte Holbrooke, është konstatuar se thot ajo ishte krijesë artificiale, antihistorike dhe ajo ka shkaktuar gjitha problemet. Nuk mund të harrohet fakti që sipas raportit të Aleksandar Ranković në vitin 52, vetëm deri në vitin 52 në gjithë Jugoslavinë ishin burgosur 3.400.000 vetë. 3.400.000 vetë. I gjeni në internet me politike tjera. Kurse ishin likuiduar, si që thot Aleksandar Ranković, 688.000 sa vetë tjera. Jo vetëm shqiptar. Shqiptar janë diku 70.000, 70.000, thonë kronikat historike. Kryesisht civil, graf, fëmijë e tjera. Kjo ka bërë që edhe intelektual të shquar serb të thonë që Serbia është zënë në aktin kriminal të vrasjes në tentativ, jo vetëm të një populli, po edhe të popujve tjerë. Prandaj do të paguaj haraqin për të. Dhe po ashtu populli serb ka paguar haraq të shtrenjtë për të. Nuk është referencë e kaluara, zonja sotri. Është e ardhmja referencë, e ardhmja evropiane. Ka pas një farë pluralizmi, një farë shumë komësie, po edhe perandoria turke ka pas tillë. Edhe ata që duan një farë mënyre të restaurojnë Turqinë, thonë, Turqia, perandoria turke ka qenë si Amerika. Kam bërë pjesë gjithë popujt atje, kam pas veçorit e veta, vilajetet e veta atjera. Është pjesërisht e vërtet, po është referencë? Jo. Referenca është e ardhmja, është Evropa, prandaj edhe brezi i ri duhet shikoj nga ardhmja, të respektoj të kaluar. Përndryshe kjo do të ishte përsëri konflikt i stërngrir, jo vetëm i ngrir, i stërngrir. Nuk mund të legalizohet një farë mënyre dobel suvereniteti artificial që aty këtu po serviret në Kosovë. Mendoj që nuk do të lejohet. Ato që thashun janë edhe konstatime dhe kërkoj falje për zgjatjen. S'duat markohen e juaj, po e konsideroj atë nevojshme të theksoj këtu, e mund të jenë edhe si pyetje për ata që megjithatë kishin edhe referencat e tyre, si thosh, për mua në parim të respektueshme, po në aspektet që theksova mendoj të kërkojnë edhe rishikim dhe kujdes. Ju faleminderit, fala vam në paqe.
Let me just take the prerogative of the chair to say that I'd like to thank everybody who's here for participating in this event. I'd like to especially thank the panelists for laying out a particular good and valuable vision. Luli said, and I was inspired by it myself, that he talked about the joint values of liberal democracy. And we have seen an example of that here today, where we see different views, a lot of different questions, and different ways of thinking about the past, and that can help to fashion a kind of a common vision of the future. So I'd like to once again thank the panelists for helping us, and thank you all for coming.